In this video, we're going to look at how to raise invoices within TeamPoint. So when we talk about raising invoices, we're basically taking a job which is being completed by one of our operatives in the field, taking that job and generating an invoice from the back of that job, which we can then send to our customer. Now, there are several different ways of running our invoicing process within TeamPoint. The quickest and most efficient way will be to have everything run automatically, and we can set TeamPoint up this way if that's what we want to do. With that kind of process, as soon as the job is completed in the field by our engineer, those details would come back into TeamPoint. TeamPoint would automatically, in the background, without any human intervention, raise the invoice and send it straight out to our customer. Now, that's great from a cash flow point of view because your invoices are raised the second the job is complete. It's great from a low labor overhead in your office because nobody needs to do anything. Everything just happens automatically. However, most customers don't do their invoicing that way. If you are going to invoice completely automatically, you need to be 100% confident that your operative has taken the correct before and after photos, he's captured the customer signature correctly, he's written the right notes on the job's been priced correctly in the first place. So you have to have a lot of confidence that everything is perfect in order for these things to flow automatically. Great if you can do that. Most customers don't do that. So most customers have an invoicing process which goes along the lines of the job gets completed by the engineer, it comes back into the office, it's then checked. So you'll do a visual check within the office to make sure the photos are correct, the pricing is correct, all the details on the job are fine. The job then gets moved to ready to invoice, which is then picked up by the finance team to generate invoices. So that's what we're going to look at doing today. Other invoicing options we will cover in other videos. So this is all run through the finance section on the home page. Now our home page is configurable, so we may not have the finance section set up on our home page. If that's the case, if we don't see it anywhere, we can simply click up here to configure our home page. We find the finance option, we make sure it's ticked, and then we click save, and that will add the finance section onto our home page. We have it already. So the finance section has three areas. We have our complete not checked jobs, we have jobs waiting final checks, and we have jobs which are ready to invoice. We're going to look at moving our jobs from complete not checked. That means the work has been done, the job has been completed by our engineers in the field. We're going to move the jobs from complete not checked through to ready to invoice. So this jobs waiting final check section in the middle, this is to handle the situation where sometimes your jobs have been completed by your technician in the field. They have come back into the office, they've been checked, everything's absolutely fine with the job. However, it's not ready to be invoiced yet because we're waiting for some additional bits of information, or we're waiting for an additional sign-off from a customer or something like that. So maybe we're waiting for a subcontractor to send some photos to us. Maybe we're waiting for a waste transfer note from a tanker company. Maybe we're waiting for the job to show us ready to invoice on a client portal, because lots of jobs go through client portals. Sometimes you can't invoice them until the portal tells you they're ready to be invoiced. Or maybe we're waiting for a verbal sign-off from the client just to say everything's fine. So if our jobs are being checked, but they're not quite ready to be invoiced, we would move them into this section here, but we're not going to cover that today. What we're going to look at today is taking our completed jobs, moving them to ready to invoice, and then raising an invoice. So let's do that with a couple of jobs. So if I click on my 17 complete not checked jobs, it takes me to a list of my jobs. I have 17 jobs here. We're just going to move a couple of these jobs to ready to invoice. And in order to do that, all we need to do is click into the job like so. We check all the job details. We might want to check the attendance photos. We might want to print a worksheet. We might want to look at the customer signatures, the customer feedback form, whatever it may be. Let's assume that this job is fine. All we need to do is find the status of the job here, which is complete. We move it down to ready to invoice. We come down and we save our job. That one's been done. We'll just do another one. Open the job, change the status to ready to invoice, save the job. When I come back to my home page, we can see that my 17 complete jobs has now gone down to 15 because I've moved 2 of them, and my 3 jobs at ready to invoice moved up to 5 because those 2 jobs have basically moved from this section through to this section. So these jobs are all ready to invoice now. So we would probably have someone from our finance team keeping an eye on this, and every time they see jobs ready to invoice, they can click into it and run the invoicing. So let's do that. So I click here. This is my invoicing summary page. So we have 5 jobs in total at the bottom here, but they're broken down by customer because it may be that we want to invoice our customers separately. So I might only want to invoice Davis Limited at this moment. So we would click on the 2 here to invoice the 2 Davis jobs. However, we're going to invoice all 5 together because we just want to invoice everything. There are 2 other columns here, consolidated and contract. So there's a slightly different invoicing process for consolidated invoicing and also for invoices that come from our service contracts. But we'll look at those in another video. So we'll stick with the standard invoicing for today. So I'm just going to click on 5. And here are my 5 jobs which are ready to invoice. We have the job number, the site name, the customer name, the purchase order, any notes which have been raised on the job, the description of the work, the sections that the job sits in, the value of the job. So we have our 6 jobs here. Now, we also have a tick box. So the tick basically means generate an invoice for this job. Let's say of these 5, I might look at this one and go, oh no, we're not quite ready on that one. Actually, I don't want to invoice it. We would just untick a tick box. And then when we generate our invoices, it would just create 4 for us rather than 5. But here, we're going to create all 5. So coming back up to the top, we can choose our invoice date. So it defaults to today. But if we want to set the date of our invoices to an earlier or a later time, we can change the date here. So let's say we can set our invoice date as of Monday from 2 days ago because we're invoicing slightly in arrears. We then have 2 options, invoice ticked and preview ticked. Preview just generates a preview PDF of the invoices so that we can have a look at them if that's what we want to do. We're not going to worry about that just now. We're just going to create invoices. So in order to do that, we just click invoice ticked. So click on the button. We get a quick warning. Are you sure you want to invoice 5 jobs? Yes, I am sure that's what I want to do. Okay. Clicking OK has now generated 5 invoices from those 5 jobs. And it's also closed those 5 jobs down. So those jobs have moved to complete invoice status, which means they're closed and we're done with them really. We now have 5 invoices raised and we can send these invoices out to our customer. If we come back to the home page, we'll now see our jobs ready to invoice has dropped down to 0 because all the jobs which were ready to be invoiced have been invoiced. So that's the basic invoicing process on TeamPoint. There are other invoicing processes which can be set up, but this is the basic one. We look at our completed jobs, we move them to ready to invoice, we click through and we generate our invoices. It's all very quick, very simple and very easy to do.